everybody, it's Joe from greenlightsound.com, and today we've got another in our Easy Fixes for Your Mixes series, a series I've started recently that just kind of highlights some really simple steps you can apply to your mixes, hopefully to improve them, or maybe try something new that you've never done before. And this one is all about mix bus reverb. Mix bus being your stereo bus, your master bus, whatever, the final channel that all your audio is routed through, and using that reverb as a glue instead of mix compression. Typical use would be to shave a couple dB off on a mix bus compressor like an SSL style compressor or something like that to help the mix sort of gel or glue together. But in this case, we're using a reverb to do the exact same job. One of the big proponents of this is, of course, Andrew Sheps, who uses the Tony Visconti T-Verb recently in place of a mix bus compressor to achieve that same effect, to get a good glue sound on the mix. The T-Verb is modeling a room in Germany. You can really use any room reverb that you want. And in this case, I'm using the IK Multimedia Sunset Sound T-Rack Studio Reverb, modeling the studio out in Los Angeles. And the room I went with is Live Room in Studio 2. You kind of look around the room here. You can see the space that they're modeling. So we're kind of putting the band artificially in this space as we're putting this across the mix. I first put the dry fader all the way up and then kind of dialed in the wet fader until I got that little bit I want. I really don't want an obvious reverb effect. You don't want this big blurred out mess. What you want is just the sense of everything being in a space together without being really obvious that it's reverb. The other setting I do want to point out is that I often use the high pass filter to make sure I'm not getting too much of the kick drum or the bass bouncing around this artificial room, because that can kind of muddy things up a little bit too. But you can experiment with that and see how much of the bottom end you want to shave off, if any. So the first thing I want to do is play the mix without the reverb. Reverb is bypassed. Mix with no reverb.
Have you been to the bottom of the canyon, to the bottom of all alone? Did you ever stop to think there's a diamond in the dirt below? It's all where you're looking. It's all in how you look.
Now I'm going to engage the reverb. You're not going to hear a huge difference, but you got to listen closely to everything being glued together and a little bit of a different sense of the stereo field.
Have you been to the bottom of the canyon, to the bottom of all alone? Did you ever stop to think there's a diamond in the dirt below? It's all where you're looking. It's all in how you look.
Now I'm going to bypass it on and off as it plays with the power switch right here. So if the red light's on, the reverb's on. If the red light's off, the reverb is off.
Have you been to the bottom of the canyon, to the bottom of all alone? Did you ever stop to think there's a diamond in the dirt below? It's all where you're looking. It's all in how you look. Is there a darkest mountain coming into view? If we take a little time and dare to climb, there's hope for me and you. It's all in how you're looking.
So especially as the mix gets a little bit more full, you really don't notice it. It's more like you feel it in there. It does change the vocal space a little bit. We can dial it back a little or dial a little bit more in. I'll do that as it plays, so watch this wet fader.
Have you been to the bottom of the canyon, to the bottom of all alone?
Just a little bit less there.
Did you ever stop to think there's a diamond?
Now if you overdo it,
below? It's all where you're looking. It's all in how you look.
so you can hear clearly when you overdo it, it gets this really obvious reverb sound. That's not what you're looking for. You want to dial it back a little bit to be felt more than heard. Now I'm going to cycle through the different rooms here and see if that makes a big difference in the reverb.
Have you been to the bottom of the canyon, to the bottom of all alone? Did you ever stop to think there's a diamond in the dirt below? It's all.
For me, Studio 2 works for this mix, but again, you could use any room reverb that you want. So there it is, a really simple way to add glue to your mix without mix bus compression, using reverb in small amounts across the entire mix on the mix bus. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, so we can keep you in the loop as to what's coming up next. And I'll see you in the next one.